Privacy is not secrecy, it is strategy. When you protect your dreams, you protect your energy. Every time you talk too soon, share too much, or invite too many into your private process, you risk diluting your purpose. Success doesn't need an audience in the beginning. It needs discipline, silence, and focus. You don't owe the world access to your every step. The idea that you must constantly share to stay relevant is a trap disguised as transparency. Privacy is not you being secretive, it's you being wise enough to protect what isn't yet strong enough to stand against outside pressure. In a world addicted to attention, withholding is power. You don't post your strategy when you're serious about the outcome. You move like water, silent, intentional, and unstoppable, because when people don't know what you're doing, they can't interrupt it, dilute it, or derail it. Some people only cheer when you're down so they can feel higher. Others only check in to see if you've failed yet. Why give them the pleasure? There's strength in silence. When you keep your dreams to yourself, you preserve the fire that fuels them. No one can question what they don't know. No one can discourage what they can't see. This isn't about hiding. It's about healing your focus from public opinion. Most of the world isn't watching to support. They're watching to judge, compete, compare, or copy. Privacy sets you free from needing applause in your becoming. What you're building deserves incubation, not interference. You're not being rude when you don't overshare. You're being real with your boundaries. When you constantly explain yourself, you invite misunderstanding and misinterpretation. People hear you through the lens of their own limitations, and if you're not careful, their doubts become your distractions. That's why the most successful people in the room are often the quietest. They're not busy proving, they're busy preparing. They don't rush to post, they wait to perform, because they understand one truth: when it's real, it doesn't need validation. Energy flows where attention goes. If you keep spending your attention explaining, defending, and detailing your every move, how much energy is left for the actual journey? Privacy is a gate that protects your time, your energy, and your focus. The world doesn't need a trailer of your life. It will see the premiere when you're ready. Every time you protect your purpose through privacy, you reclaim your power. You stop performing and start becoming. And that shift, right there, is where success is born. Some visions die not because they weren't good enough, but because they were exposed too soon. There is danger in announcing your destiny before it's ready to breathe. When you share your ideas, dreams, or goals at the wrong time, you open the door to the weight of opinions, jealousy, doubt, and unnecessary judgment. Some people don't need to hear what you're planning. They're only listening to find a flaw, poke a hole, or beat you to your own finish line. Not every listener is a supporter. Early exposure makes your dream vulnerable to voices that don't belong in the room. Silence is not weakness, it's insulation. It gives your vision room to grow roots before it tries to grow branches. Every masterpiece starts in a quiet studio, not a loud crowd. People love to critique what's unfinished. When your dream is in its infant stages, it can't defend itself against criticism. Think of it like planting a seed. You don't dig it up to show others how it's growing. You water it, protect it, and give it time. The same applies to the things you're building. If you share too early, you risk chasing validation before your dream has stability. And once validation becomes your fuel, you start performing instead of progressing. Real growth doesn't need an audience. It needs commitment. If you're constantly explaining your next move to people who can't even understand your mindset, you'll exhaust yourself trying to be seen instead of staying focused on becoming. One careless comment, one doubtful question, one dismissive laugh from the wrong person at the wrong time can weaken your momentum, not because you're not strong, but because you're still building. Builders don't invite critics into unfinished homes. They finish the foundation, raise the walls, lock the doors, and open the house when it's ready. You're allowed to be selective about who knows your direction. You're allowed to keep your next move silent. Just because you're quiet doesn't mean you lack confidence. It means you have wisdom. Don't confuse loud effort with effective movement. Some of the most powerful breakthroughs come wrapped in privacy. When you expose your dream too early, you hand over influence to people who were never meant to be part of your journey. Silence is one of the most underrated forms of power in a world obsessed with noise. We live in an era where being loud is mistaken for being strong, where oversharing is celebrated as authenticity, and where speaking first is often confused with being right, but real strength is quiet. Real power doesn't need to announce itself. It moves differently. It's disciplined. It watches. It listens. And then it strikes with precision. Silence is not weakness. It's mastery of restraint. When you move in silence, you don't need to defend your dreams. You simply build them. The loudest one in the room is rarely the most powerful. It's usually the most insecure. People who know where they're going don't have time to prove it. When you are building something meaningful, noise is a distraction, and silence is your weapon. While others are busy showing off what they're planning, you're already doing it. You're not clapping for yourself because you're too busy executing. That silence isn't emptiness, it's focus. There's a certain elegance in knowing exactly who you are and choosing not to explain it. Let others guess. Let them wonder. Your actions will eventually show them. Power doesn't beg to be seen. It commands attention by results. There's strength in being underestimated, in being doubted, in being overlooked. Because in that silence, you gather your fire, you sharpen your tools, and when you emerge, you're undeniable. Noise invites judgment, interference, and jealousy. Silence invites clarity, intention, and depth. When you embrace silence, you create space to hear your own voice, your real voice, not the voice filtered through fear, opinions, or societal pressure. And in that space, you grow in ways the world isn't prepared for. Silence teaches you discipline. It teaches you control. It teaches you to stop needing reactions and start trusting your direction. You don't have to answer every doubt. You don't have to prove your worth. You don't have to scream your potential. Silence is the language of those who already know what they carry. You don't need to be loud when your future is loud enough. The quiet ones are not ignoring the world. They're mastering themselves. Because silence isn't absence, it's intention. It's the difference between chasing attention and choosing alignment. Not everyone is meant to walk with you, know your next step, or even hear your vision. The moment you begin to rise, you must become more intentional about who has access to your time, your energy, and your presence. Access is a privilege, not a right. Some people are watching to be inspired, but others are watching to sabotage, mimic, or criticize. When you are too open with your plans, you open the door to manipulation. Privacy gives you the power to filter your circle. It reveals who supports you in silence and who only claps when it's convenient. Everyone around you is not aligned with your calling, and that's okay. What's not okay is pretending they are and allowing that presence to influence your pace, your peace, or your progress. Your space is sacred. Your peace is non-negotiable, and the deeper you go into your purpose, the more selective you must become. Everyone should not be able to reach you just because they know you. You're evolving, and not everyone is growing with you. Growth changes relationships, and it's supposed to. People who were once close may no longer fit. People who once understood may now misunderstand. That's not betrayal. It's alignment revealing itself. Just because someone has history with you doesn't mean they deserve to be part of your destiny. Learn the difference between those who genuinely support you and those who stay close just to keep tabs. There is wisdom in moving with quiet discernment. When you start treating your vision like treasure, you stop leaving it on the table for just anyone to touch. Everyone is not qualified to speak into your journey. Everyone is not meant to advise you, pray for you, or correct you. You must be intentional about protecting the atmosphere around your growth. The wrong voice in the right season can plant doubt that takes years to uproot. You need people who water your faith, not question your direction every time you make a move they don't understand. Your calling doesn't need constant confirmation from the crowd. It needs clarity from within. Stop explaining what they were never meant to comprehend. The more access you give, the more permission you hand out. And when you allow the wrong people to influence your rhythm, you risk dancing to a song that was never written for your breakthrough. Growth doesn't need performance, it needs protection. Your dream in its early stages is like a flame in the wind, precious, fragile, and easily extinguished. When you feel the pressure to showcase your progress before you're even sure-footed, you turn something sacred into something exposed. Not everything that grows must be visible right away. You are not here to entertain the world with your evolution. You are here to become, and becoming requires shelter. It requires silence. It requires a space where your gift can be sharpened without the noise of comparison, judgment, or outside expectations. The performance mindset makes you chase approval instead of alignment. You begin to ask, "How do I look?" instead of "Who am I becoming?" When you place your energy into impressing instead of investing, you dilute your strength. Growth is messy, uncomfortable, and deeply personal. It doesn't always look good on camera. It doesn't always get applause. Sometimes it looks like isolation. Sometimes it looks like starting over. Sometimes it looks like confusion and stillness. But in that stillness, something sacred is happening. You're shedding what no longer fits, facing what you've avoided, and building a version of yourself that can't be easily broken. That is not a performance, it's transformation. And transformation is a private process. You owe no one the behind the scenes footage of your refinement, not because you're ashamed of it, but because it deserves reverence. The early stages of success are where most people give up, not because they aren't capable, but because they feel unseen. They confuse visibility with progress, but some of the most powerful growth happens in darkness. Roots digging deep, faith getting stronger, vision getting clearer. You are not behind just because you're not being celebrated yet. In fact, you may be ahead because you're building quietly, focused on the foundation, not the facade. The world wants a highlight reel, but real progress doesn't always come with a spotlight. It comes with discipline. With boundaries, with staying consistent when no one is watching. There is danger in turning your becoming into a show. You start performing for validation and lose connection with the truth of who you are. Not everyone needs to witness your becoming in real time. Some things deserve to be grown, not displayed. Some victories are silent, some breakthroughs private, and some transformations invisible until the time is right in a world where everyone is rushing to be seen. There's something powerful about letting your work speak before your words do. When you stop announcing every step and start investing that energy into building, you shift from seeking attention to commanding respect. You don't need to convince anyone of your potential. Results do that better than any explanation ever could. Social media has made it so tempting to narrate your journey in real time, to give previews of your plans, to share every small win in hopes of validation. But validation is not the same as victory. Attention fades quickly. Applause grows quiet, but results, real result, echo louder and longer. They don't need hashtags. They don't beg to be acknowledged. They carry their own weight. Let your silence become your discipline, and let your results become your voice. People may doubt you when you're quiet. They may overlook you when you're building. But when the product is undeniable, when the change is visible, when the transformation speaks for itself, there is no denying your growth. Let your moves be made in rooms no one sees. Let your sacrifices remain unposted. Let your commitment remain unspoken, because when it's real, it doesn't need a commercial. It becomes evident. The right people notice when the time is right. You don't have to keep proving, you just have to keep moving. The moment you switch from performing to producing, you unlock a different level of power. You begin to realize that it's not about who knows what you're doing, it's about what gets done. Quiet work breeds strong results. The most impactful people are not always the loudest. They're often the most consistent. They don't argue about what they're becoming, they embody it. They let their transformation tell the story. That's the kind of energy that turns heads, not posts. Your consistency is your announcement. Your discipline is your introduction. Your elevation is your reply. The danger of always sharing is that you can become addicted to applause and allergic to patience. But real growth demands silence. It demands intention. It demands delayed gratification. The world may not notice right away, but when your breakthrough comes, it won't need a caption. The work will speak volumes, and the ones who doubted will recognize the quiet force that was building all along.